What's up, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of Big Men on Basketball. We are live here on a Thursday, January 5th, 2023. And I've said before, I said it on Twitter earlier, this to me is the best card I've seen this year on college basketball. And we are knee-deep in conference play. We got a lot to do. Welcome into the Barstool Sportsbook YouTube channel. I am your host, Jeff Nadu. Let's get into it. Let's bring in our friend on here on Thursdays from the Three Man Weave at Second Chance Points on Twitter. Make sure you go follow him. He's one of the most astute minds in the game. Jim Root, what's up? Good to see you, my man.
Good to be here. Do you say best card because you think you got a ton of value, or you just like the games you're excited to watch?
No, it's all about value to me. It's all about where I see from a standpoint of winning, right? I've had a good week and I'm hoping to build on it. And I think that obviously helps. Anytime you're winning, things are great, right? It's almost like when you play poker. Like if you're winning, you want to talk and have fun at the table and order drinks and have a good time. But if you're losing, don't talk to me. I don't want to hear from you. But
yeah,
I actually think this card's pretty good. And there's some good games on this card. And we're seeing what do we always see? Non-ranked team at home as a favorite over a ranked team. Do we bet those teams or not? Jim, how's your week going in college basketball?
It's going pretty well so far. Obviously, we're into the new year, we're into conference play. It's kind of like a different approach at this stage. But I would say solid. Maybe not like a home run week yet, but we're looking to turn it into that today, and especially Saturday with 150 games.
Yeah. And again, football is gone now, right? College football is gone. So college hoops is the mainstay on the card. If you're watching, welcome in. Thanks for being here. Make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you go follow Jim Root on Twitter as well at Second Chance Points. They're putting out really the best college basketball content in America, so go check that out as well. Jim, I want to start with really quick news out of Austin, Texas today. Not real surprising. Chris Beard has been fired as the coach of Texas, and I want to say this very much out of the gate. And I want to relate this to this show, the sit down. Okay. I see this all the time. Okay. You see very smart people that could have been big wigs in business or something like that. And they go into crime and they become wasted talent. And I don't want to call Chris Beard wasted talent, but I'm going to. Chris Beard was one of the most astute coaches we had in America. And one bad decision involving someone that he loved, it's disastrous what he did. It's sickening what he did or what he likely did, allegedly did. And Texas Longhorns fired him for cause. Just another case of really wasted talent. Chris Beard likely will never coach in college basketball again, and he's going to have to pay for his crimes probably by going to prison. Just a wild story, very sad story that developed.
Yeah, the wasted talent, that is a good way to put it. He's a really good basketball coach. He won a tournament game at Little Rock. He made the NCAA title game at Texas Tech. Like, that kind of performance speaks for itself, but you can't do it if you can't follow the rules off the court. And clearly he wasn't able to. Whatever is going on, I think this was inevitable for a month. They were just figuring out all the legal stuff behind it so they can make sure to fire him for cause and figure out all that and not have to worry about a lawsuit coming back at him for not paying a buyout or anything. It's going to be an interim year with Rodney Terry. Matt and I have kind of expressed some worry about how the season's going to go for Texas now. And then another search for Texas. It's third in the last 10 years, coaching search for Texas. It's wild.
Really, and again, this is a guy that was on top of the sport, really. I mean, he's regarded as a top 5 coach in America, probably. What a fall from grace. And, this is what happens when you make bad decisions off the court involving things like this. It's really awful on both sides. Let's get into the card today. That's what we're here for. If you can and you're enjoying the show, share it on Twitter. It's a great way to grow it. Let's start with this game. Probably, in my opinion, this is the best game in the card as far as viewing purposes. A lot of people aren't aware, but these are the two of the best teams in the mid-major world in college basketball. I remember talking at the beginning of the season on how much I liked UAB. They have one of the best scorers in America in Jelly Walker, a guy that can draw 25 and yet pretty easily every game. And remember, last season against FAU, 27 and 26 against the Owls. But this is a different Owl team this year. They're very well coached under Dusty May. They're not going to be worried going into this game, and I think there's going to be quite a reason for them to obviously put a lot of stock into guarding Jelly Walker, making things difficult on the kid. That's not to say – I remember years ago, Allen Iverson, they did anything they could to guard Allen Iverson. Tyronn Lue just kept getting embarrassed, and it doesn't matter. Sometimes players are just too good. I will say, to me, I think you're going to get a pretty good pace in this game. Both these teams want to run. I think Vlad Golden could be a real problem for UAB on the block. Trey Jameson's good, but Golden's big and he's large. And we've seen at times UAB has struggled defensively. I think there's a hard-fought game. I think we see a lot of good offense here. I kind of thought this was first of 75 wins. I don't really have much interest in picking a side here, Jim. I kind of like the over.
Yep, I bet the over. I agree with you. I think this kind of turns into a little bit of a track meet. I won't call FAU like a total pace taker, but when they played North Texas, they got dragged down into the mud. They played the super slow game, and they won playing North Texas's game. This one, I think they end up kind of getting into the running game with UAB. FAU will do some three-quarter court trapping. Like, they're not really going to press the way UAB sometimes will. But you'll see the defense is extended, which will lead to some quicker shots. Jelly Walker will shoot at any moment if he sees any bit of daylight. So I think we get fast tempo here. A lot of really good guards on the floor between Walker and Gaines, and then FAU has like 5 of them. They've got an army. So, yeah, I think we see a lot of scoring, a lot of tempo. Over is definitely something I'm looking at.
I feel like this game is what they would call aesthetically pleasing. I think we see a lot of good. And remember, UAB, when you look at possession length, 3rd in America. They are lightning quick. If they can get out and run, they will do it.
Yeah, well, you saw them at the Barstool Invitational, right? When they zip it up and down with Toledo? Yeah.
Electric. Electric. 2 teams that just want to run up and down. Let me ask you, Jim, one thing that jumps out to me in this game is that UAB is getting 2.5. And look, I think these teams are a flip. Okay. You're going to give me 2.5 with, to me, the team with the best player on the court. Throw in the fact, you look at free throw discrepancy here. FAU, 295 in America. UAB, 52. It's a big part of this game. If I had to play the side, I would lean with UAB. I just think all in all, I want the best player on the court and a guy that has in history destroyed FAU. These are 2 really good teams. This is going to be a great kind of game for their psyche going into the conference season. This is the best game on the card from a viewing standpoint to me.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I almost didn't bet it because I wanted to just watch it without any like, oh, they're not scoring, I'm annoyed. Like, I wanted to just enjoy it, take it in. But you can't ignore the edge if it's there. That's what are we doing if I'm going to ignore an edge? And I thought I had an edge on the over, so that's what I went with.
Yeah, and you got to give like guys like Michael Forrest a lot of credit. You know, their guards have been great for this team, so should be a good one. I know people want to be enamored by the Big Ten matchups tonight and stuff like that, but there's some great mid-major matchups in this card tonight. Let's go to Purdue, Ohio State. Big game for the boys in Columbus here. They are getting Purdue at a vulnerable time, I think we can say. Purdue is off a loss. And, Jim, are you aware of their current ATS skid?
It's bad. It's really bad.
Not great.
Yeah, lost 7 in a row against the number.
Say that again?
Lost 7 in a row against the number for Purdue. Basically, like, totally dominated teams in Portland. Early returns, got them all the way up there in analytics, which is what a lot of the lines are based on. And now I think the numbers have just been a little too high. They had the game without Edey they didn't cover, but then haven't covered a Big Ten game yet since that holiday break. So I would say I'm nervous that their value just got a little too inflated, and they're going to kind of come back to the pack in the Big Ten and not be like the clear-cut favorite that we thought they were.
I'll tell you this right now. This is the best bet on the board to me. Sorry. Ohio State wins and covers, okay? This is your old – and we saw this situation. We see it time and time again in conference play. That's why, to me, conference play is a total moneymaker. Okay, what are most bettors going to say here? Purdue's off a loss. They can't lose 2 in a row. Ohio State, they shouldn't be a favorite here. Ohio State's really good, and the line is very much in their favor here. You know what wins, Jim, to me in college basketball? Guard play. And I'll tell you right now, Ohio State's guard play is just better than Purdue's. Sorry. Sensible, Likely, McNeil, Suing. I'll take them over Purdue. There's no Jaden Ivey on Purdue this year. Just isn't. Yep. I like Edey. Think he could have some success here. But I think Chris Holtman's probably like, you know what? Let him get his. Let Zed Key kind of pull him out of the perimeter, make things difficult. Maybe he gets in foul trouble here like he did the other night. And I think it's a great spot for Ohio State. I love them here.
Yeah, but Purdue, if Edey's in foul trouble, is like the ultimate just pedestrian Big Ten team. They still got a lot of size. That doesn't go away, but he's like the go-to guy. Their offense is completely predicated on getting him the rock in the paint. Their freshman guards are good, but they don't really deal well with any sort of harassment on the perimeter from athletes. Rutgers really took advantage of that with McConnell and their length. Ohio State's not totally built the same way, but likely can be a fantastic pressure perimeter guard. I think Bruce Thornton, the freshman, can do that as well. And I my colleague Matt summed it up best. He's like, if both teams are fairly reliant on freshmen in league play, I want the home team, and that's Ohio State. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
And again, it's hard to win on the road in college basketball. And this is the hardest conference to me in the country to win on in the road. It is so difficult. These atmospheres are great. I don't know, guys. I'm going to tell you this now. I can't remember the last time I've said this. Did you watch the Arkansas game last night?
Oh, yeah. My Tigers? Of course I watched.
That was the loudest building I've heard in a long time. It was deafening.
Yeah, Bud Walton's crazy. And it's like break, you're not even getting like the full student crowd in there. Providence is pretty loud too. I'll give there were two great atmospheres last night.
Yeah. And again, you know what your favorite thing is going to be, guys? The good old academic calendar. Go look at when these students come back. Per the academic calendar at Ohio State University, they're reporting back. Let's take a look here. January 2nd, offices are closed. Semester and first classes begin January 9th. We'd have to figure they're probably shooting back in to be ready for the weekend, party a little bit, and start school on Monday. So yeah. I'd have to think they'll be there tonight.
Yeah, I bet they looked at the basketball schedule too and they're like, oh, if we get back there, we get to watch top 5 Purdue team and we can party this weekend. Yeah, I'm going to get there.
Absolutely. It's Thursday night. You're sick of being at home with your parents. Trust me.
Yeah, exactly.
You're back at school by now.
Yeah, you're talking to a guy. I studied abroad 3 times over winter break. I was ready to get out of there.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I think this is a very strong play. I'm very happy with this. I got to tell you too. Shout out to the freshman Sensible. He's been terrific for them.
Yeah,
just a really good player. I'm kind of feeling like he reminds me of maybe not totally the same player, but I think he's got to have like a Dwayne Washington type of career there. Just a very solid guard that just makes everything. Just a good player overall. People are saying about the number at FAU is at 149. Look, I like it up to 150, to be fair. This is a quick question I'm going to bring up. James Madison, Texas State, what do you think? I got to tell you, I lean State in that game. I really do. Texas State could bother JMU. Texas State's going to play that game at a crawl. They don't turn the ball over, which JMU likes to feast on turnovers. I think that could be one of those games where you kind of put a fly in the ointment there if you're JMU. That's a lot of points to lay. And again, it's not easy to go play at that building, but that's a game where if I'm Texas State, that's pace against pace, 341 against 7th. So I'm going to try to grind that to a halt.
Can I say, I think maybe I like first half a lot there. It just kind of occurred to me as you were talking through it, because Texas State doesn't have a ton of depth, but I think first half they can really frustrate them, and maybe JMU extends later, but I like that idea.
I was 2-0 last night on this show, but I did make a live bet, right? I saw Missouri, Jim. Did what I told them to do, zone Arkansas. It worked to a T. They were up 7 at the half. Arkansas looked lost in the water. I thought, you know what? I'm going to grab 7 here in the second half. I think they hang around. But I tell you what, the thing that I didn't think about, they got just destroyed on the boards. I wish I'd have played it first half, got out of there. I felt like Missouri was going to bother them in the first half, and you can't win getting out rebounded like that. So
yeah, they're going to get out rebounded a lot in the SEC, which is a scary thing.
Yep, absolutely. Let's move to the next one. Actually, let's go here. Vermont and Bryant. This is a big game. Yeah. Because Vermont actually has a contender to deal with in this conference. They're not just dealing with, Lowell and groups like that. This is a good team, Bryant. But I got to tell you, this seems like a spot where they just hit a buzzsaw if you're Bryant. Because Vermont is not going to play and run in transition. They're just going to say, you know what, we're not going to do what you want to do. You're going to do what we want to do. And John Becker, look, I like Grasso, good, solid, up-and-coming coach, but John Becker's elite. And what do we know about Vermont, Jim? This is where generally the schedule gets a little freed up, and you look at all of a sudden, they've rattled off, I think, 5 of 6. The only loss is to a good Toledo team. But I think what concerns me about that loss is Toledo's a lot like Bryant, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that worries me here. But I really feel like at home, in conference, you know what I want to play here? I feel like if I'm going to do anything, Bryant can't defend anybody. And I just lean on the fact that I think that Vermont's not going to play the game they want. I think Bryant will probably get them in Bryant later in the season. But if I had to play this one, which I think it's a good game, I'm going to lean on Vermont at this price. I think they kind of shut down that transition offense. And we've seen Bryant. They just don't defend, really.
No, yeah, they're just kind of waiting until they get the ball back is what that's kind of the strategy on defense. They run up and down. They play 10 guys, and all of them get to shoot a bunch, which is great. But against, like you said, he's the dean of the America East, John Becker. He's won like 5 of the last 6 Coach of the Year awards. He's completely runs that conference. I think they give the welcome to Bryant of like, all right, you're here, but remember whose league this is.
Absolutely. And I think what you see is Vermont's played Iona and Toledo, 2 teams that want to play up and down. I think that gets them ready for this type of game. And this is a team that is not as good as the other 2 teams I mentioned. So I think Vermont is going to run roughshod in this game. Again, I didn't get there with this one, but I think it's a good game. It's definitely maybe an over. I think Vermont can kind of run roughshod and maybe score 85 in this game, maybe like an 85, 76 type of game, something like that. I don't know. Interesting nonetheless. A game that we would have been all over last year probably. But here's the thing, Jim. Are you aware that like the last 10 matchups in this game have been decided by 6 points or less?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I think I looked that up last year. I would have forgotten it until you said that. Yeah.
Now I'm going to bring that up because this year, these 2 teams are not the normal teams. But here's the problem. South Dakota State's starting to figure things out, and they're still way better than North Dakota State. This number is too low. It's too low, guys.
Yeah.
This number, if it's 5, I probably don't play it, but it's only 2. I think South Dakota State's just a better team than North Dakota State. Like I said, if I'm getting 5-6 points, maybe I take the dog because of the closeness of this series. But I just don't think North Dakota State's very good. I'm just being completely honest. I think South Dakota State's starting to get it going a little bit. I think as far as players are concerned, I just think they're better. You also throw in the fact, Jim, and I bet Villanova last night for this exact reason, their free throw percentage. You look at South Dakota State, 3rd in America, North Dakota State 265th. It's a big thing in this game. I'm going to play South Dakota State here.
I think the free throw percentage is indicative of where South Dakota State's 3-point shooting should be too. And South Dakota State was the best shooting team in the country last year. I know they lost Shireman, but everybody else is back. So I think their 3-point percentage is going to tick up in league play. And their big thing that killed them in the non-con was turning the ball over. They just coughed it up like crazy. Well, North Dakota State's 362nd in defensive turnover rate. Like, they don't care to pressure you. They just want to sit back in their little clustered defense, usually force you to shoot over the top. And like I said, I think South Dakota State starts to make a lot more shots. This was a Matt best bet, and now between that and the way you presented it, you're talking me into it. I might be a jackrabbit as well.
It's just too low. Like I said, if the number's 5 or 6, maybe I give them a shot that they can hang around, Grant Nelson. But I'm going to use the word disturbing, which I never thought I'd use in this show. This is a disturbing stat line. On December 19th, Grant Nelson had 35 points, 13 defensive rebounds, and 3 offensive rebounds. You would think North Dakota State won, right? Right?
Oh, yeah.
No, they lost by 19 to Western Illinois. How is that possible?
Yeah, the rest of the team scored 25 points. It's so bad.
Yes. So, I think this is a get-right game. Again, we run this conference kind of like Bryant, Vermont. I just think North Dakota State, I think they're a bad team, quite honestly. This is not a vintage, like, Saul Phillips-led team that's going to go and do their thing. This is a team that, in the end, just isn't very good on defense. You mentioned they're not going to pressure you or anything. They're not going to put any umbrage on you turning the ball over. This number's too low. Give me South Dakota State -2. This is an interesting one. And we've been there with Iowa, Jim. I've been there. I hate Iowa. I hate this fan base. I hate this coach. I hate everything about them. Yet you have to ask yourself, why, after losing 3 straight, including a loss to Eastern Illinois, are they a 1.5-point favorite here? And the number is not budged an inch.
Yeah.
They're going to win and cover. That's why. Iowa, another play tonight for Nadu. Iowa. And I'll tell you another thing. I know Patrick McCaffrey's out, but here's the thing. TJD, all I hear about is him with throwing letters from fans on the internet and feeling sorry for himself, and he's not fully healthy. You don't have Xavier Johnson. Can Hood-Schifino handle pressure? Chris Murray. Miller Kopp, the thought of him guarding Chris Murray doesn't really sit real well with me. Give me Iowa here at home. They get a big boost from the crowd tonight. They win in Iowa City, and they're all of a sudden back, baby.
Well, that's kind of a dream for you, right? Either you win the bet or you get to kind of just continue hating on the man, yeah.
What do you think here?
I thought Indiana would – like my first gut instinct was like, man, Iowa's kind of circling the drain. Indiana, that's a team that, you know, I thought a lot more highly of preseason, but they've really struggled too, especially with that backcourt limitations that you've had with XJ out. Way too much reliance on Hood-Schifino. Even TJD's been banged up, but their last two as a big favorite at home were not impressive. Like the Elon Kennesaw games, they look friendlier on the final score than they were. Like the Kennesaw game was like right down to the final 5 minutes, like, and finally Indiana extended late. So they haven't exactly been on fire lately. And I still respect Big Ten home court a lot. We talked about it with Ohio State. I think Iowa's going to have the same thing going here. I just don't really trust either one right now. So I'm sitting on my hands on this one. This is one I kind of just going to sit out on.
I want to also make something a little more clear. Now, look, I know Indiana was good last year. They're better this year. You know who they lost to twice last year? Iowa.
Yeah.
So, again, I think long-term, these spots to me, I'm always going to be on. I'm just always going to be on them. I'm never going to be on Indiana here. I will never, ever, ever, ever be on it. I don't really care about anything going on with the team outside of them. This is just one of those spots that I'm always on, just like Ohio State. And you have to ask yourself, for as good as Indiana people think they are, why are they a dog here? Because, again, no Xavier Johnson, as we talked about. It's a desperate spot for a desperate team. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And you even have Indiana fans calling out this team. Woodson doesn't coach. They're overrated. They don't defend. They're not good defensively either, by the way. So,
yeah. Did you see the letter TJD got?
Yes, I did.
So the handwritten, like, you're not a leader. Like, wow.
Well, I'll tell you right now. I'm just going to say it. It's soft posting that. If it doesn't bother you, why are you posting it?
That's true. That's a valid point.
Why do you care? Why do you care what some old head Indiana fan that's been around for 50 years thinks of you? Who cares?
Yeah, you get the support from people like, oh, it's okay. Like, that's kind of what you're going for, I guess.
Listen, I'm sorry, and I'm from Philadelphia, okay? We have no love lost. If you don't play well, you're going to hear about it, okay? They love basketball in Indiana. They're one of the best basketball states in America. It's what they have. And I'll tell you right now, Gardner Minshew didn't play well on Sunday. I don't care that they're 12-2 or whatever the hell they are. They're not playing well. Right now, they're not playing well.
Yep. So
I don't have a problem with, look, writing him a letter. I don't know. That's kind of lame. But it's also lame that he made it bother him, you know?
Yeah.
Just me. But so did you get there on this game?
I sat this one out. I want to see one of these two teams play a good game before I back them.
JS mentioning no ball movement, no shot creation, no defense, limited athletically, and dumb. Wow. Harsh words for Indiana. And also, wow, he also says that Iowa has the best player in the court. I don't disagree with him there either. Maybe it's a little bit of a stretch, but I've always said I think TJ's a nice player, but I'm taking a lot of kids over him, if I'm being honest.
I always like when the best player is a guy that can create his own. And TJD is more, you kind of got to get it to him in the right spot. And once he's there, he's completely dominant. But he's not a get it on the perimeter, clear out, and let him go get the basket late in a game that should be close given where the spread's at.
I'm also going to say it, and I'm just going to bring this up. If Michigan continues to get Hunter Dickinson to play the way he is, the guards play the way they are a team to keep an eye on. Don't worry about what you saw in non-conference. They're playing well right now. We'll see how long it lasts. when we're talking about bigs. Let me do one more here on the outline that we have created. Pepperdine, Santa Clara. This game strikes me a lot like the first game we talked about, up and down. To me, Pepperdine seems like they play 88, 85 games every game. I think both these teams have NBA talent on them. Do you trust Pepperdine? Because I feel like Sendek's just, a great coach. And
yeah, I did take Pepperdine here when they were a dog. But as I do it, I'm taking Lorenzo Romar against Herb Sendek, and I don't like that at all. That's a bad coaching matchup. You're kind of banking on the talent at home. And somebody asked us pre-show on Twitter, like, why did this line flip from Santa Clara favored to Pepperdine? There's a rather large betting group that hit Pepperdine this morning. That flipped over. They've done that a lot. Usually they're betting injuries. That's like their big thing, is they'll try to find something that people don't know about. They bet it and they beat the line. They just bet Pepperdine at home a lot. And I think it's because the talent plays up better at home. So I don't think there's anything special going on with their handicap here. I don't think Santa Clara is missing anybody. They just like the waves at home. And you know what? I'll take it with them today.
Yeah, and I also will say, I mean, this number and another one that kind of sticks out. This reminds me of that Rhode Island game last night against Fordham. I mean, maybe we don't believe in Fordham and being 12-2. What did Rhode Island do? I believe Rhode Island went in and beat them. I think Santa Clara on paper is a much better team here, but I think on the surface, a lot of people will realize how good Pepperdine is. They have some talent. They just have a tough schedule they played. You look at their schedule components. Top 50. They put a top 50 schedule. So they might be better than their record indicates. I actually agree with you here on the side. I lean Pepperdine as well, being at home. And again, I think they have more talent than Santa Clara does. I also, again, lean over. I didn't get there because I missed the opener here. I'd much rather get 150 than 153. But it seemed like first to 80 wins. But
yep.
We'll have to see. We'll do 3 to 5 minutes here. If you have a question, please drop it in the chat. Jim, what's a game that you are betting that we hadn't discussed?
I've hit a lot of unders. That's kind of been my MO this season, where I've been making most of my money. Montana, Northern Arizona is my favorite one. I just think both teams are very slow, and due to play a slow game, Montana played a really fast non-con schedule. If you go through the tempo of their opponents, same with Northern Arizona, actually. And so now they play two teams or play each other willing to slow it down, play in the half court. I think that turns into a grind. Big Sky games often do that. So that's my favorite one of the day. Under 137 is good. I like it down to 135.
Also, another under I wanted to quickly mention, those clowns at West Kentucky are 4.5-point underdogs tonight. This is the spot where they generally play well in. But do you just assume that it's a low-scoring game there? I mean, both games last year were pretty low-scoring as far as I remember. You're not going to run your pace against North Texas. They're just elite. I wish I could get a bit better number there. Another under I liked as well, Jacksonville, Stetson were both very low scoring last year. You're talking about two of the slowest teams in America offensively. That is a slog of a game.
Yeah, the only way you lose that under is if Stetson makes a bunch of threes, which is possible. They're a good shooting team, but the pace is going to be there. You're going to have like a slow tempo game.
Well, that was a game last year. It was 67-45. So Jacksonville can make some shots, or Stetson can make some shots, as long as the other team just doesn't. A lot of people asking about LMU, Brigham Young. I'm kind of in the feeling of I kind of treat LMU a lot like a lot of other teams in the West Coast Conference. When they step up and play good teams, they generally get run and they struggle to defend. What do you like here? Anything?
BYU. Yeah, I think they're trending way up. They kind of figured things out with their guard rotation. They bring Rudy Williams off the bench now. He's kind of the spark scorer. He handed the ball to Dallin Hall. And they got Spencer Johnson back recently, who's big-time shooter on the wing. They're totally fine in the paint. And so now they've kind of reinforced and figured out the perimeter. I think BYU's trending up, and I don't trust LMU.
A lot of people ask me about Arizona and Houston. I'm not going to say I won't ever lay a big spread in conference. I feel like if you like Houston minus 20, maybe just take the under. Do you really want to be on the side where Houston scores 85 and you lose or not scores 85. He only gives up, let's say 55. Just play the under. Houston will probably score, but SMU probably won't. I don't really like laying big numbers in conference though.
Yeah. Houston's been a really good first half team. So sometimes I just want to shorten that bet, cut it in half, laying 11 or whatever is still going to be nerve-wracking with them, but I'd rather do that than like 20 against an SMU team that under Rob Lanier, like they don't quit, they don't go away. They did the same thing at Georgia State. Look at them compete with Gonzaga in the first round of the tournament last year. I would prefer first half, I think.
Somebody's saying, should Hofstra be laying double digits to anyone? Yeah, I think Hampton. Hampton's awful. And Hofstra's back healthy again. They got Estrada back. We really haven't seen them, for about a week now. I think you're going to probably welcome this game, and then William and Mary as well. Monmouth. They got a nice stretch to kind of get back on the horse here. If you're Hofstra, now that you're in the conference play, I think they crush Hampton.
Yep.
We'll do two more here. Any thoughts on Irvine Davis? I'm always lean under with Irvine with Russell Turner. Davis, I kind of lean that way as well. Any thoughts there?
I'm eating ants. I took the Anteaters. Really, really low road favorite, like 1.5, 2, I think is where it's at most places. I just think they're better. Davis has been frustrating at times this year. They've often gotten up big and blown leads. So I think you've always got a chance, even if the game doesn't bear out perfectly right away. Irvine can shoot, and Davis is erratic.
People bringing up Grand Canyon and Sam Houston. Look, you're not going to make a lot of money betting against Sam Houston State. They've been very good against the number. I got to tell you, I lean under here. I mean, you have two slow teams, two teams that are pretty good defensively. Grand Canyon is elite defensively, big, long team, essentially on the perimeter a lot of the time. I think the under is good here.
Yeah, under's probably pretty solid. It's been bet down from like 5.5 to 3. So on the side, I actually lean towards Sam Houston against the number a little bit there, but didn't bet it. Close to it, but not quite. Under makes sense to me, given the way those two teams play as well.
Final game, Maryland Rutgers. I have to go Maryland here, don't I? I mean, but I don't really want to.
Ultimate, like, buy low, sell high. Maryland's been playing terrible. Rutgers has been playing awesome.
It's also one of those games where it also doesn't look like it looks like it's going to be a blowout for Rutgers because the line's 6. It's a kind of – Rutgers hard to beat at home too, but I don't know. Something tells me Maryland last stand. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, buy low, sell high. The only thing keeping me off is Rutgers at home is awesome, and I don't really want to get in the way of that sometimes, but we'll see how it goes. This is like the renewal of the Seton Hall rivalry. Kevin Willard versus Rutgers. Peichel, that's his name. Yeah, like those guys have been against each other in state for a while. No real splits on their coaching ATS stats. I looked at that. I think Rutgers is 3-2 against Willard. Peichel's 3-2 against them, but that's not anything to go on tonight.
Jim Root, always good to see you. You can follow Jim Root on Twitter at Second Chance Points. Go check out the 3-Man Weave. They got all sorts of great media stuff they're doing. They've got a show generally every day, back on Saturday. Check those guys out. Really, there's not a ton of great people in this space. These guys are. Jim, good to see you. Thanks for being here, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep, good to see you. Jim Root, check him out on Twitter at Second Chance Points. For me tonight, I threw 3 plays out to you guys. It's been a great week for me. The 3 plays are Ohio State, -1.5, Iowa, -1.5, and South Dakota State, -2 against North Dakota State. You're welcome to tail and to fade, whatever you want to do. But this is where the big boys come to play. And now the conference play is here. I'm ready to go. So I hope you have a great evening. I hope you enjoyed watching the show. Do me a favor. Give us a follow on Twitter. Give me a follow at Jeff Nadu. And make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, please. It's a great channel with a lot of good sports betting information. As far as tomorrow's show, we don't have a ton of games tomorrow. But I will be here nonetheless. It's not going to be a real long show, but we got some MAC basketball and some stuff like that. So we'll be here, Ivy League as well. Make sure you check that out. Any chance you'll attempt to be a Barstool media correspondent in Idaho for the trial? That's a great question. I'm gonna maybe see what I can do to be involved in that. I would love to do that. That would be really interesting. I was also going to try to get some sort of federal court thing so I can go to a federal court in Brooklyn and Manhattan. That's something I'm going to explore. We'll see. I actually have a very important call tomorrow with Barstool about some of the ideas that I have. So that's the question I've been pondering. I'll see what it would take to do that. And yeah, I think we need some legitimacy from all this. I have been the first really to report on a lot of this cartel stuff that we see. It's generally Mexican journalists that are doing it. And this Idaho thing, I've been pretty on point with, I feel like, and I've tried to really bring awareness to it that's going on. So this is what I like to do. So maybe we'll see. That's a great question. But all right, guys, I'm out of here. I will talk to you tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Let's hopefully have another good night here. Until next time, salud.